Yeah.
Okay, this is the planning board meeting of December 13th, 2016 at 7 o'clock. And this meeting is brought to you by Area 58 Community Access Media. If we could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. First on the agenda tonight is an A&R approval not required for 80 Makepeace Company to create 4 unbuildable parcels off Meadow Street. Map 75-22-C3-A under MGL Chapter 41, Section 81-P. It's filed with the town clerk December 8th, 2016. So there's no one here, so you must be
Yep, so
going to explain this.
Beals and Thomas prepared the plan, and they did let me know they wouldn't be able to come tonight, and that's okay. It's a plan that is showing 4 parcels. 3 of them are outlined in pink. There are 2 very small parcels up by the road, and then a large pink parcel up at the top, and then a long linear parcel in yellow. So those are the 4 parcels that are being created. Currently, it's all one lot, and it does not depict a subdivision as defined under the subdivision control law, so and the proper notes are on the plan. None of them are building lots, and the note that the plan, it's an approval not required plan with no findings made under zone, for compliance with zoning. So I can recommend that the board endorse the plan as not requiring your approval.
And I see under note 4, the parcels C-3B, C-3C, 3D and 3E are not to be considered individual building lots, as you said, so, which is usually what we put on I used to put on plans. So, any discussion? Any questions by anyone?
I have a question. Why does this have to get filed?
Because they're actually creating separate pieces.
Okay.
So they can, for whatever reason, in their investment portfolio, they can choose to retain all of them and own them in common, or they can convey them off or finance them separately, or for any range of reasons to manage your land assets. They've decided for whatever reason that they would rather have these be separate. I know that the 2 little pieces, the 2 small rectangles have pumps on them. So they're separating their water infrastructure from some of their other property.
I was wondering why those real small parcels, but that didn't kind of, okay, makes sense then. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Kevin, do you have any?
No, I guess I'm all right. And they didn't share any intentions down the road as far as why?
No, all they need to do is show that the plan is not a subdivision as defined. So we don't need to know what they're going to do. They can, come back later and combine up different pieces with you through A&R if they so choose.
Okay, so I just want to make sure I understand this. So this entire piece is going to be separated into 5 pieces?
4.
4.
So there's 2 very small pieces down by Meadow Street in pink. There's a large pink parcel is up at the top, and then the long yellow parcel is the 4th parcel.
Okay, so the 2 very small rectangular pieces are 1.
Those will actually be 2 separate pieces.
So that's why I'm thinking there's 5.
4. The 2 small ones, the large pink one at the top, and the yellow one.
Okay, so the 2 small ones coincide with the large pink one on the top.
Yep.
Parcel 3, C3B.
And they will all be 4 individual parcels.
Right. And then the two left and right in the yellow are separate.
There's only one yellow one, so there's no line separating them in the middle.
Okay. All right, now I see why. Okay.
So the yellow one is pretty much following the lines of the rivers and canals as the lot boundaries, which is why it's kind of such a funny shape.
Okay. So in looking at that, so even though the yellow is not outlined underneath the pink, that strip goes underneath it?
That is a lot line.
That is
Yeah.
one full piece all the way down.
Yes,
The second piece is one of the small rectangles, a second small rectangle, and then a third.
that's correct. That's correct.
All right.
Why are they landlocking C3B?
With it, as an
Just-
approval, yeah, because they
Kinda
want
makes
to,
no sense.
yeah. So all they need to do is show it's
Hmm.
not a subdivision, they've got the proper notes, and for whatever reasons compel their investment people to do this is what they want to do.
I just can't help but think that maybe down the road, that might be yet another piece that would be a solar farm.
It doesn't have any frontage.
It won't,
Yes, C3B won't have any, doesn't have any frontage. The only ones that have frontage would be the large yellow one. And of course, the two small pink ones, but they're very small parcels.
I mean, any future use that would require permission would have to come back. This is only dividing the land into these separate parcels.
Because then you also have to think, there's a lot of wetlands have to be out there associated with the river and everything out here too, so.
it's their land, I guess it
Yeah.
complies with the law, bylaws, so I'm okay.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to endorse.
Second?
So you have a motion and a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That was unanimous. All right, so we have, next on the agenda is a discussion for the planning board's role in the North Carver Urban Renewal Plan location approval process.
Mr. Chair, if I could, I would like to step aside as a planning board member and talk to you as a redevelopment authority chairman. I'm just gonna go over here, so that way I can do that. Mr. Chair and planning board members, my name is William Sinclair. I know you guys know me, but for the people at home, I am the Redevelopment Authority's chairman. We are and have been in the process of this urban renewal plan, trying to put it together and work with it. And since probably the later part of the summertime. I will let you know that the board has not voted to bring this forward to you guys yet, but we're close. And I know that Marlene had talked to you guys at your last meeting, giving you a brief update, letting you take a look at the documents and stuff. I'm going to encourage you guys to take a deep look into that document, the process that has taken place with the urban renewal and the redevelopment authority members in conjunction with the public at large has been very intense, very involved, and has come out with this document that you guys will be taking a look at, and hopefully having a positive impact and bringing it forward to the selectmen. So I just want to give you a little background on this for our perspective to you. And I'm not presenting it to you, I just want to give you a little bit of background. Town's been working on the redevelopment of the North Carver area for over 20 years. The following steps have taken place in this amount of time that has directed us to take a very in-depth look at what could take place in maximizing the potential proper development in the North Carver area. couple things that I'll point out. The Economic Development Strategy Plans since 1995, Town Master Plan, 2001, the US Route 44 Extension in 2005, Water Engineering Study that was done in 2006, the Market Feasibility Analysis of 2006 and 2008, District Improvement Financing, 2006, and implemented in 2010. The installation of a water source, North Carver Water District, 2007. It was completed in 2010. Priority Development Site, which was in 2009. Green Business Park zoning enacted in 2010. And Comprehensive Economic Development Strategies in 2010 by Serpent. These are just some of the tools that we've used and that the town has done in the past that has helped us come to this position where we're at now. All of these that I have mentioned are listed with detail on each one of these in the proposed urban renewal plan. The proposed North Carver urban renewal plan consists of approximately 23 privately owned parcels and 2 publicly owned parcels on a land totaling about 301 acres, give or take. Also in this document, it clearly lists all of the properties affected. This is described on page 5 of the document on table 2. It could have been updated on the tables, but I'm not positive. This is a recent one that I have. The Redevelopment Authority has been working on this plan since late summer, and we have had many meetings with the area residents and also commercial developers. Excuse me. The input from the residents, including the town of Plimpton, we've had 2 selectmen from Plimpton that have attended some of our meetings, and the residents that abut the proposed area have been instrumental on developing the document that you have in front of you. I bring this to you for your review and look forward to all your comments and suggestions. The Redevelopment Authority, Business Development Committee, previous planning boards, and this planning board, and the selectmen have always been working to give the town of Carver the best tools to bring proper development into this area of town to maximize the potential for taxes and jobs in this area that will benefit the town for years to come. It's just a brief statement. There's a lot of information in this document. I know you guys received it. We will be having a meeting, I believe it's next week, with the Redevelopment Authority. We're looking to endorse this and bring it forward to you guys for your review, and looking for a positive outcome to bring it to the selectmen. Thank you.
Thank you all. So, I don't know if anybody has any questions or comments before we move on to the other articles that we have. I mean, we still have a lot to, I don't know if anybody's had a time to look through this yet, because it's still in the formation, as Will says. If nobody has any questions or comments at this time, and if Marlene, if you don't have anything additional to say.
Actually, I want to give you a little bit, kind of lay out the steps and the timing of things. And first, I'm sorry that that the back pages of this draft are upside down. I'm not sure how that happened. So I'll make sure that the next draft I give you, everything is right side up. But the draft you have on the table tonight, it does revise the one I gave you at the last meeting. Just make yourself familiar with it as you have time. We will be giving you and sending you a final, complete draft once the Redevelopment Authority has finished their work. They are meeting next Monday, that's the 19th, at 7 o'clock. And at that point, let me say it's possible that the Redevelopment Authority could have a complete draft to move forward at next week's meeting. Whether they choose to or not is completely up to them, but my objective is to have a complete draft available for them. Once they have a complete draft, and if they choose to vote in the affirmative to endorse it, then the next step would be, it would come to you at your next meeting, which is scheduled for December 27th. And then at that meeting, you would be asked to make the two findings that we talked about last time. And the two findings that the planning board have to make with regards to this specific document are that it complies with your master plan, and we'll kind of read off a list of the planning efforts that have gone, into this plan. It is mentioned in the 2001 master plan, which will be the master plan that you'll actually be making this finding under, because the newest update won't go to town meeting for adoption until April. You also do have a copy of the most up-to-date master plan. This project and this area in North Carver is also in the newest draft update of the master plan. So it has been carried forward in the master planning process. So that's one of the findings you have to make, is compliance with master plan. And then the second finding you have to make is that the methodology of the plan is based on a local survey. So it's using kind of the most up-to-date information we have as far as taxation and valuation records, property owner records. We're using, the most recently voted tax rates. So it's based on current information. And we have also done, the consultant who prepared this and I have done a number of site visits to the property to verify that public information from the records. So those are the two findings that you would be asked to make after the redevelopment authority votes on the 19th, if they vote on the 19th to move it forward. Your first opportunity to consider a vote would be your next meeting of the 27th.
Now, if I may, let's say that I want to view this master plan. That is available to the local public by coming here to Town Hall and asking for a copy of it.
Yes.
Okay.
The 2001 master plan is available, and the draft update is
Exactly.
also available.
And then I guess my second question would be, as far as revisions, are there a significant amount of revisions, or are there some key revisions that we could be aware of?
We're adding
comparing?
more information, and I have given you a markup copy. So if there's I didn't give you the full strikeout copy because that gets hard to read, but if you see a vertical line in the margin, that's noting where there's a change from the version
Okay.
you got last time. So we are
So like, for instance, on page 5, right side up.
Yep.
So that, I could legend that as revision because there's a vertical line there.
Yes.
Okay.
So at the bottom of page 4, that paragraph, so specific urban renewal actions, and it's the underlined text. So the new text that's been added are the things that are underlined along with those vertical lines.
And it could be a revision since 2001 or a revision at any present time after that.
So this plan is not your 2001 master plan. This is a current urban renewal plan for this area. So these revisions are from the version you got at the last meeting. So I think you probably.
See, I don't want to get those confused when I look at them.
Okay, so I don't have a copy of the 2001 master plan for everyone. I just have a file copy. So if you do want to see the 2001 master plan, that is, I can definitely come in and I can, make copies of, it's actually a number of volumes and it's bound, so I have a hard time reproducing it, but it is online. and I can, I can print out what you need from that. So that's not on the table tonight. This document is the draft master plan that Serpent's currently working on, so that's what this is. The North Carver Urban Renewal Plan is the plan that the redevelopment authority's been putting together over the course of this year, primarily the past 6 months or so. And the revisions in this December 8th draft are noted as changes from the November draft you got at the last meeting. So that's where those, so if you took the document you got at the last meeting and put this one side by side, those areas with the vertical lines would be the changes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So a quick question so the master plan is 2001 that we're working off of. This is the proposed new master plan.
Yes.
Is there a major difference between the 2001 that we're voting on and then the new one that'll be implemented or approved at, what, April you said, the April town meeting?
Yeah.
I guess my concern is we're doing something now and vote on, and then if the master plan changes in April, how will this be
So,
affected?
so I wasn't here in 2001, so I didn't go through that process. So I can't really tell you how it's different. I can give you some guidance. So on page 27, we have pulled out some information from the 2001 master plan, and I can send you this section from the 2001 master plan so you can read it in context of its entirety. But, so this bullet point talks about, in 2001 master plan, the town identified the Route 44 corridor as one of the 7 priority opportunity areas for economic development. The master plan indicated that that the area along the US Route 44 is a viable site for warehouse, wholesale, retail distribution business because of the convenient access to the regional highway network and the need to mitigate the tax burden on residential property. And so this section, planning and redevelopment efforts to date, kind of outline all of the things that have been done or said or talked about in that area of town as far as economic development planning. And this is, and if you can go to the back of the plan, I actually want to show you the language. So section 6 on page 57 are approvals and legal data, and yours is the second point here. And so and this urban renewal plan is based on state law, chapter 121B, and it kind of outlines all the things that are necessary for a plan approval. And this is the language from DHCD's guidelines that these are the findings you have to make. So you have to indicate that the North Carver URP, which is this document, is based on a local survey and conforms to the comprehensive plan for the town as a whole. So you have to, the 2001 master plan isn't going to be as specific as this, because a master plan is talking about, the general goals and vision for future, the future of the town. But you have to, this board's job is to say, is what you see in this plan, is this in alignment with the comprehensive planning for the town as a whole? So if your master plan did not identify the Route 44 corridor as a priority development site in 2001 or in this current update, that would be, that would be a, red flag for you that this has not been on the town's radar screen. But we have the prior planning documents and efforts that can lay out that for many, many years, this area has been, the town has been making efforts to redevelop it.
Okay. Because my only concern is that this follows the 2001 plan, but doesn't follow the one that's gonna become the next one. And that's, I haven't had a chance to look at it, but I just wanna make sure that, 'cause I know that's a question everyone's gonna have.
Yep, and we did, and that's just, a function of timing, and we did note that,
Because obviously that section of the town's been
yep,
prime property, and I'm sure it's continued to be, but I wanna make sure that nothing's changed dramatically, that all of a sudden this gets approved, and then this, in April, it gets approved. It's like, wait a second, that's not.
yep. So in that 2001 master plan paragraph, we do want to note that the master plan is also being updated. And what we say is the town's master plan is currently being updated with the Southeast Regional Planning and Economic Development District, SERPED. And it is clear that the subject area will continue to be designated a priority for economic development. And that is found in the land use. So we totally understand and recognize that. It's not the case where we are not asking you to make a finding under one master plan and then changing the policy in a new master plan that's just around the corner. The policy is also in the draft master plan that's going to be coming forward. And we are trying, and we have tried to explain that in the planning efforts that, the timing of this urban renewal plan is just a little bit off from the timing of the master plan. But the draft master plan is, we do have it in final draft form, and those policies are following through.
So don't want the perception to be out there, especially with all the hard work these guys have done, that it's trying to get it passed before the new
Yeah,
master plan is in. You don't want that perception out there, that's all.
I totally agree, and I appreciate that. And it's in the new master plan too.
Good. Thank you.
I think it's good to note that a lot of the urban renewal plan and the process that we've gone through, if you go back and you look at the 2001 master plan, a lot of the items that were mentioned in the master plan, I want to say that it was well over 75, 80% of what was in the 2001 master plan had been implemented, has been adopted by the residents of the town, most in particularly in the North Carver area, plus additional efforts that were put forth because of the way that the state has changed and certain criterias like the priority development site and stuff like that. Those things that we found with working with the BDC, and then bringing it to planning board, and then bringing it to town meeting, to have those implemented by the town meeting members, has just given more tools to come to a better document, planning document. And we've looked at that intensively for the urban renewal to make sure that we're following that course that has been directed by the residents of the town, by what people have done for years on certain committees, certain things that have brought, these good tools, planning tools for the North Carver area in trying to get proper development. And this is a great tool for us to use to control that type of development up in that North Carver area, region around the Route 44. We've taken that into consideration.
Any other questions? All right, do you want to move on to the articles for the April town meeting? The first one was the bedroom density limit.
Sure. So The very top one is the map change for the two parcels that are partially in Carver and partially in Plimpton that are, that we've talked about a number of times. And I'd actually just, if you're okay with this one, which at your last meeting you indicated you were, if you could just formally take a vote to send this one to the warrant, and then this one is no longer a draft and it can be submitted.
Want to do that tonight, right now?
If everyone is comfortable with that, yes.
You're talking on which, I just gotta see.
So it looks, so I'm having printer problems today. It's the big piece of paper.
Oh. This one?
Yeah, that one. I'm gonna lose my printer privileges. So at the top of the, they're all Article XX, because none of the numbers have been assigned yet. But the first one is to see if the town will vote to amend the Town of Carver zoning map dated April 2016 to include the residential agricultural, to include in the residential agricultural zoning district 2 parcels of land consisting of approximately 51,836 square feet plus or minus, which land is shown as the Town of Carver's assessors parcels 2331 and 2333, or to take any other action related thereto. So obviously in the Warren book and with the materials that are put together, we'll have the map of those two, of the Carver portions of those 2 properties that extend into Plimpton. On the Plimpton side, they're already zoned residential. On the Carver side, they're zoned Green Business Park, and the request is to change the Carver zoning to match the Plimpton zoning as residential.
So my 2 cents worth on this is, this came up during the process of the urban renewal, 2 of the abutting properties that was in the Green Business Park. They would never ever be affected by the urban renewal. So by changing this and making it back to residential agricultural, came up during our discussions. And we thought it'd be a good idea to bring it to the board and bring it to town meeting and change it. It's a no-brainer, I think. So I'd make a motion to bring this to town meeting.
Second that.
Have motion and a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
That was unanimous.
Okay, so the second one is the draft language for the the residential density proposal that we talked about last time. And as I mentioned, this has been requested by the abutters of the proposed 40B off of Plymouth Street, where that property was, the proposal was for 39 3-bedroom houses served by town water, where on, I believe, about 17 acres, where the neighboring houses were not served by town water and have private on-site wells. And as we discussed last time, other towns do have this type of provision in their water resource protection districts. Carver's unique in that the Water Resource Protection District is town-wide. It affects every square inch of town. And this proposal would add the language to Section 4300 Water Resource Protection District to add the following prohibited use. And the prohibition would be, no residential use shall generate on-site sewage in excess of 110 gallons per day per 10,000 square feet of lot area. And 110 gallons per day is the flow under Title V for 1 bedroom. So this would, in effect, limit the number of bedrooms allowed in a house to no more than 1 bedroom per 10,000 square feet of lot area. So if you had 20,000 square feet of lot, if you had a 20,000 square foot lot, you would be limited to 2 bedrooms. 40,000 square foot lots, you're limited to 4 bedrooms, and so on and so forth. So it is certainly a density control measure. That is what this bylaw is designed to do.
So I guess my question is this, do we have things in place already to control density?
Certainly, yes, you definitely do.
And I'm just, for me personally, I'm struggling on being more restrictive on people's properties. If they have the land mass. I understand the 40B issue. I don't think anybody here doesn't understand what was going on there. I'm struggling with telling the existing homeowners now that if they want to put on an in-law apartment or have their folks there, or even kids coming back home and they need more room, that they can't. Because I know that I would, and I wouldn't think twice about it. And I can see this being very restrictive, taking some of that away. If I have 60,000 square feet, and you're gonna tell me I can't. I'm struggling with that.
But given 60,000 square feet, that means 6 bedrooms.
That's right.
Well, in my case, I have a half-acre lot, so that's 20,000 square
Right.
feet. So that would limit the number of bedrooms to 2 bedrooms, although now I have 3 bedrooms. That was allowed at the time. But as Will said, I was thinking about the accessory apartments. That would pretty much put an end to any kind of accessory apartments and any kind of relatives or anything like that. And it would kind of limit the expansion of any kind of existing homes on, especially half-acre lots. And I mean, if there were thousands and thousands, many, many homes in an area, it would affect it. But if we have like 10, 20, 30 homes in a subdivision, and then it's all wooded around the subdivision, and, it's empty land there, then nitrate loading, I don't think would be that much of a problem. One of the questions I have is how many lots are left? Do we have lots in town that are half-acre lots now?
That are not built.
From existing
That-
zoning, that
Yeah, I
are
mean,
built on?
There are lots of record, certainly, that are still available. Maybe not a ton, but there are lots of record that are out there. They have been recorded, they are completely legal, and they would be granted a building permit. And today, if there was a 20,000 square foot lot of record that was protected, and someone came in to get a building permit, they would have to design their house and septic system and well to meet the setback requirements that the Board of Health has. And as long as they can design their system and meet their setbacks, then they're allowed to build their, what they're able to fit on the lot, the number of bedrooms that they're able to fit in their design septic system with their proper separation to wells.
So if this was approved, the existing lots, although they don't have houses on them, would be grandfathered?
They would be grandfathered, but they would be limited to, if it's a 20,000 square foot lot, they'd be limited to 2 bedrooms. So the lot would still be grandfathered,
Buildable lot.
but this would apply. It would still be buildable, but this limitation would apply.
Have we found that there are any nitrate pollution in town that you know of?
I can't answer that question. I mean, I'm sure there is. I don't know to what extent. I have not seen a comprehensive study of that. The Board of Health has not systematically studied that. So I don't know to what extent this would be, what extent this would be a problem.
It'd be interesting to see if the Board of Health has ever run into any problems with this, with nitrates.
The Board of Health is talking about nitrates, and they're taking the approach that if someone cannot meet those setbacks from wells and septic systems, they're starting to put in denitrifying septic systems. So there's technology available to treat the effluent, so it's the nitrogen is removed before it is leached.
And it can be removed.
Not totally, not completely, but it can certainly be mitigated and lowered, yes.
So there's tools that are available now that if that 40B project had went through, that could have been a requirement for nitrogen loading septic systems
Yes,
for the treatment of that. Granted, that would have been a costly endeavor for the developer, but if he wanted that density and he was going down that road, that could have been implemented
yes,
by the Board of Health.
yes, and by the Zoning Board of Appeals,
Right.
yes.
But they chose not to go that path.
Well, they withdrew their project, so we actually never got to answer the question.
Okay. Because I thought at one time they were considering that.
Yeah.
They
I
put
just
that on
think
the
that there's
table.
other tools that are in place, and to become that restrictive, I don't know, it bothers me. I know that with previously owning a house on Crystal Lake, that there's always been concern about the density there in Bates Pond area, density there of, the nitrate levels there. So to answer that question, I know that there's concerns. There's different systems that now with technology that can be put in place to try to take care of that. Costly, but
Well, generally, from my experience, if we did a Title V, if somebody was selling their house and a Title V was done, and they found that one of the things we ran into a lot was that the old septic system didn't meet the water table requirements.
Separation.
The separation. So, because it was an existing house, they just can't say, well, we're gonna knock the house down and the land isn't any good anymore for building. So they would put in a denitrification system so that there would be less separation. And so that house could still be used and it wouldn't pollute the groundwater. So there are ways to get around this without, restricting the landowner. So, yeah, I don't know, it's just something that I want to think about before we vote on this.
Well, you can certainly take as much time as you want to think about it, but if you don't want to advance it, that is completely fine. If you don't want to advance it, we'll take it off the list.
Say, I know there was a big concern about the 40B because they actually had quarter-acre lots. So,
Right.
It was and it was a legitimate concern.
Yes.
But, if there haven't been any problems in town, and, people buy and sell homes, their septic systems are inspected and upgraded, I don't know, just something we have to think about, I think.
I would say this. My point of view is looking as a property owner that owns a bunch of property, and by implementing this, bringing this in here, it's going to be more restrictive. So their investment per se would be definitely restricted. Now, granted, if they came in with a proposal and the Board of Health deemed that they would have to do the nitrogen, that's a costly endeavor too, but that's their choice. But that's also a tool that the town has that they can utilize. This automatically would restrict their value of their investment right away. So I think it needs a better look at this this point, I wouldn't want to bring it forward myself.
How does anybody feel? Does, you want to think about it more, or?
I definitely want to think
that-
about it more.
Okay.
But I would have to say that I don't appreciate the fact that we would be the ones determining whether somebody can do what they want to do on their property is restricted because of this. I would just as well feel much better that they had an option if they wanted to go forward and do something, that they would have to put the right system in, in order to do that. However, then I can flip it and I can say to myself, well, if you put 40 houses in, an area where you've got quarter and half acre lots and every single person wants to put an addition on, now you have a problem. So I definitely don't feel comfortable limiting it at this moment, and would definitely like to look more at the individual nitrate system that would be removed, or
Remove the
mitigate it.
nitrogen, yeah.
anyways.
How do you feel, Jim?
I don't feel comfortable with the way this is written right. I don't know. Pass that on.
Well, we can discuss it one more time, I guess. at
Keep it on the
next
list for one
meeting,
more
and-
time?
Yeah, and then we can make a decision whether we want to.
Maybe we can get some input from the Board of Health. You know, even if it's just in a memo or something, or what they're thinking, and now that we've had a discussion about it, we can at least relay that information to them of what our thoughts are and our concerns.
We
So,
do- oh, I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
Who came up with the 110 gallons per day per 10,000 square foot? Is that a,
That's pretty standard for this bylaw. I haven't seen any, I mean, the 110 gallons comes straight out of Title V. That's the design flow per bedroom. And every bylaw like this I have seen, they've used 10,000 square feet of lot area. So that is, it seems to be in practice I'm not saying it's reasonable, but that seems to be where towns have landed.
and those towns have been restricted areas, you said, right? And
Most,
of them-
yeah.
Where where Carver's unique, it's gonna be the whole town.
Right, so usually in towns, usually in water resource protection area, in other towns, are very defined areas, often zone 2s around wellheads. So zone 1 around wellhead is like a no-touch zone. That has to be controlled by the water source. A zone 2 is a greater area where you still want to protect your water resource. So there's an overriding public health reason why in these zone 2s, and they're delineated by DEP, the Department of Environmental Protection, why in this area it is in the public's benefit. It's for the public good to protect these wellhead areas. That's usually how water resource protection districts work. I mean, they're not always wells. Sometimes there's surface water supply, but it's a tool to protect the quality of drinking water. That's what this is, and I think I said briefly at the last meeting that I did have the opportunity to talk with the Board of Health once about this in June, and we just discussed it at a very preliminary level. And since then, that board is unable to meet because of health issues with a quorum of its membership. So I cannot, at this point in time, I wish I could, but I cannot get you feedback from the Board of Health. What I can do is have the health agent send you a memo, but he's not speaking for the Board of Health. The board has not met, has not voted. So I can certainly do that. I'll also, if you want to bring it back for another discussion, I'll contact the people who are are advancing this, and let them talk to you and advocate for their idea with you, because this is something that is coming from a group of people, and they can talk to you about why, why they're asking you to do this. So I will certainly do both of those things. But I want to be clear that as much as I would like to, I had intended over the fall here to have you and the Board of Health meet jointly and talk about this issue, and that just hasn't been possible, unfortunately. So, and in many ways, that in and of itself, the fact that the planning board cannot talk directly to the Board of Health right now, might be a reason to say we need more time to get the Board of Health's perspective, because they have a whole nother set of tools. Your tool is zoning, which is what we're talking about right here, but they have a whole nother set of tools in their septic regulations and their setback regulations between septics and wells. So we'll leave it on the list one more time. I'll let the the proponents of this idea know that it'll be on the next agenda. If they want to come and talk to you, they can come and talk to you. I'll have the health agent send a memo to you, but not speaking for the board. Okay?
So the main reason this was brought up was that 40B issue.
Yes. Yeah.
The thing about the 40B is in that particular area, the only reason it could be developed there was because it had town water. Otherwise, you couldn't have, on the small lots that they had, you couldn't have a septic system and a well. So the only reason that could happen is because they had town water. So each house would have town water, and they could still have their septic systems on the quarter-acre lot. And to me, I know a lot of people we're talking about, well, if we have this 140B, we're gonna have 40Bs all over the town, but you can't, because we don't have town water available to parcels like that all over town. So it was just unique to that one spot where town water was available, they could do something like that. So,
I think that's one of the things that's bothered me a little bit, is to change the way we are just for one project. So that's what percent of the total land in the town, that change everything drastic. Like Wilson, I don't want to restrict someone that, had an in-law apartment, the kids come home from, college and decide to live with you, stay with you. But,
Happens.
yeah. But just for that, that's why I'd be interested in the proponents.
Yeah, I'll let them know and ask them to come and talk to you about why.
all right. So, and what else did you want to?
So the next article is, we talked last time about the fact that your schedule of uses 2230 doesn't include specifically medical offices, even though your parking standards are different. And what I've done here is, this is the chart. This is a line from your chart. And right now, your chart just has B, commercial, and then the line below just says office. So I've added the words including medical office. If you want to allow medical office in all of these districts, either by right or by special permit, and they're all, so it would not be allowed in residential agricultural, by right in highway commercial, by right in general business, by right in village business, special permit in village, by right in green business park, by right in industrial A and C, by special permit in airport, and by right in the Spring Street Innovation District. So if you're okay with with medical office buildings being located in all of those districts, then I recommend we just add the comma, including medical office, so it's very clear that that's not an oversight, and that, we had this discussion, and you're looking at medical offices the same as you're looking at general office space.
Do we have to vote on that?
I mean, unless you want more time, you'll have to eventually, if anything you want to send to the warrant, you'll have to vote to send to the warrant. So if you're ready to send this one, you can do so.
Anybody have any problems with, or any
Okay,
questions?
my question, the two no's are residential agricultural, and what is IB again?
Industrial B.
Okay.
So currently, right now, office uses are not allowed in those districts. So nothing is changing in the chart. The only change to your bylaw is to add the words including medical office.
I don't see a problem with it. I think it's just better clarifying.
I agree.
I make a motion to add it to the warrant.
I'll second that.
Have a motion and a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
That was unanimous.
Okay, so the last one on this side of the page is our hobby kennel definition. So right now, if you go down to where it's underlined kennel, comma, hobby, the first sentence is the existing sentence, and it says, so your existing definition for hobby kennel shall mean a single premises with a collection of 6 to 10 dogs, 3 months or older, that are maintained for any purpose and where fewer than 4 litters per year are raised. So as you know, we've had a couple people who are big dog fans who own a lot of dogs. They're getting caught up in, and a hobby kennel requires a special permit from the planning board. So they have to pay the fees, we have to hold the public hearing, they have to come get a special permit from you, which is supposed to be recorded at the Registry of Deeds, in order for them to own more than 5 dogs, for them to own 6+ dogs. So the proposal here is to add this second sentence, which is, except for a collection of 6 to 10 dogs owned by a single individual and permanently maintained on the premises as pets, all of which are spayed or neutered, shall not be considered a hobby kennel. So what I'm trying to do is make it clear that there's not going to be breeding on site, that these dogs live here, they're owned by this person, this household, and they're pets.
Not for business.
It's not a business use. So the special permit a special permit's required because someone is running a business pertaining to dogs. They're either kenneling them there, they're kenneling them for others, or they're breeding them, or there's some sort of commercial activity that might generate traffic or a need for parking or some sort of impacts over and above what would be considered residential use.
If I may, I guess I would feel comfortable going forward with this if a certificate of spay or neuter was presented.
So that has to be presented at the town clerk. So the process is, people come in to license their dog, and they present that, and they have that with the town clerk. And right now, if someone comes in with 6 dogs to license, the town clerk won't license them until they come to get their special permit. So this would allow the town clerk to move forward with licensing them without the special permit if the 6 or 7 or whatever dogs had that documentation.
I clearly understand. If somebody wants to have dogs opposed to children, it's absolutely wonderful.
What about both?
Huh? Again, both. Can have both. That's absolutely fine. My point is, it doesn't open the door for it to be a breeding
Right.
situation.
Right. So if someone came in with 6 dogs to license and they didn't have the certificate,
They'd have to have.
then they'd have to come and get the special permit.
I think that's a great clarification. I like that.
Very good.
It'll solve the problems that we've run into before. So I think if everybody agrees, we could get rid of this one tonight, vote on it, and
I make a motion to bring it to the warrant.
second that.
I have a motion and a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. All right.
Okay, on the back page, our favorite section of the bylaw pertaining to signs is, as you may remember, we are having these issues with freestanding signs in essentially commercial condos where all the signs are supposed to be in the directory. So I'm proposing some draft language here to make it very clear that if you are in a multiple occupancy commercial building, so multiple storefronts in the building, that individual freestanding signs are prohibited. The information has to be in in a permitted directory sign.
But I would like to believe that the owner of businesses does, like we have a situation, has to make it possible for a person to have a sign in which they can have it.
Right, so the directory sign would
Has to
have
be
to
made big enough to accommodate the amount of businesses.
right. So if the directory sign needs to be redesigned or rebuilt, then that's what the owner has to do. But the option of putting up a separate freestanding sign that's not an option.
Yeah, there'll only be one directory sign
Right.
on the property.
Right.
So,
Somehow that information.
Created equal. Right?
yes,
Well, somehow that information has to be relayed to the people that,
The
we're
business
gonna
owner.
rent the space here, so somehow they feel that, well, we're just gonna put a sign here and we're gonna put it in the ground. There's nothing telling them that, they can't do that.
well, that's the obligation of the property owner.
Yeah,
I mean, we've had a couple of instances where people have just put up signs and they totally ignore it. We've brought them in here and we've discussed it with the property owners. It's their obligation, and they're still ignoring it.
that's right.
Where's the enforcement?
So this proposal will help
Yeah.
make it very clear that you can't skirt around you can't choose to do freestanding signs instead of the directory. If it's a multiple tenant building, your only option is the directory sign.
Basically, it would support us as a board.
Yes, yes.
So when you come in here seeking a sign, that is, and that should have been explained to you prior to coming in.
Right.
To rent that space.
It'll help you as a planning board, it'll help the building commissioner, because it'll be clear as day
Is
that,
there a way that that language can be included in this warrant?
yeah, so this article, if you vote this article, right now, section 3522 in the bylaw is your prohibited sign section, and this would add another bullet point in your prohibitions that would read, individual freestanding signs are not permitted for multiple occupancy commercial buildings. All tenant information must be contained within a directory sign permitted for the entire premises. So that would be the added language.
So I'm good with all the language and everything. That works for me, but
Your concern is the enforcement.
enforcement, because we've struggled with 11, 12 years I've been on this board, we've struggled with these signs. And people just put them up and that's it. They can say that they're putting up A-frame signs and those are supposed to be taken down every night and brought inside, they don't. And to obligate town resources to keep going back out there and keep going. We used to have a building commissioner that would take the signs. And that would it, that'd be the end of it. And the people would come in, they get their signs and put them right back out. And there's no fees involved, it's not that we're not trying to be pro-business, but I will say this, if you take a ride through the main street of Carver now,
I know specifically where you're
and
going.
if you take a peek at the over-abuse of the signage droppage, we're looking more and more like if you drove down Rainham on Route 44. Signs everywhere. There's no, we're losing the rural character of this town by oversigning. And I understand they're trying to get business and everything, but there's a reason why the residents of the town want it to look a certain way. So there's no mechanism on finding that I know of.
Yeah, I mean, we can't issue tickets for sign violations.
You know, it's just, there's gotta be a mechanism, put in place for that. If I violate the law by not pulling a wiring permit, I can be fined. If somebody comes in, doesn't pull a building permit for, changing a door, whatever, they can be fined. So there's ways to implement a fee structure where that can be, and obviously I don't want to fine everybody, but I definitely want it to be enforced. And to take the limited resources that this town hall has to run around after signs when they just totally ignore the building commissioner. He's the enforcement officer. There's a problem.
So what do you do about that?
Fine them. Come up with a fee schedule and fine them. My opinion.
So is that done through the building commissioner? Or
I think that this board could put it in for a fee structure for violation of somehow. It could be wrong, but somehow to come up with a way for a fee structure if people are gonna adamantly ignore the bylaws of this community, what the community has put in place, and just bluntly do what they want. Obviously, we're gonna go and bring it up to the owner of the properties, because it's ultimately their responsibility to enforce what they got permitted to do, right? Those couple of instances that we ran into, the people didn't know. Okay, they just want to come to town and have a business and be successful. We want that. But the landlord knew what he got permitted for and what the town bylaw said. It's his obligation to enforce that.
So the landlord would get fined and not the business?
I would say the landlord, not the business. It's his obligation to be proper caretaker of his property. He came
That
to
does seem reasonable opposed to individually.
he's,
That way there, they have a responsibility to notify those tenants coming in to rent this space.
sure. And another point is that he spent the money to get properly permitted for his marquee, his directory sign, for the amount of spaces that are available there. We have that one instance that the spacing's not working. He came in and got permitted for those spaces. Now, he chose to change it a little bit, and that's why I brought up that instance there, but, he spent that investment in his business to have the marquee sign. So it's, in my opinion, it's his obligation to enforce his regulations of his business. It shouldn't, if the tenant doesn't know, the tenant was never told by the landlord.
It sounds like a,
So therefore, if the landlord knows he's gonna get fined, he'll make sure he tells the tenant,
Bingo.
hey, by the way, this is, don't,
You can't do it.
which is the instance we ran in before, and they didn't know, and they came up with that nice sign.
Yeah, I got a beautiful sign. I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous, but it's in violation of the town's bylaw. And we're not doing anything about it.
so how do we, can we incorporate that into this article, or?
I'm not entirely confident about finding for signs. I would need to do some more research on that.
And probably have some type of representation, right? If not legal.
Yeah, I'm not sure it would be a zoning bylaw. So let me look into that. Let me talk to some people about that. In the meantime, you can certainly make it clear that they're prohibited in your zoning bylaw section. As far as setting a fine or ticketing, that's something that, that's not usually through zoning. So let me see how else that might be able to happen.
Well, there must be a means in other towns to prohibit people from just doing what they want if they don't come before the planning board.
Well, if they don't come before the planning board, they're issued a cease and desist order, and they have to remove it, and then you have to follow up on that, either lack of a building permit or something to go that route.
Maybe a tie would be in occupancies.
Yeah, so I'm just not sure.
Yep. I just think that the community's very clear on what they want to see. And if anybody knows me, I'm a huge advocate for business in this community. That being said, I hear from a lot of people, what is up with the signs? And they've been flourishing.
No, but I think that's a good idea. So if we have an area where there's like 6 businesses owned by one company, instead of chasing these people around about their signs, we should actually go to the owner of the property.
The property
You
owner.
have to do something about this. Maybe give them a warning once, or say, within 30 days, you gotta do something about this to clean this up. And then after 30 days, then we're gonna have to start to fine people, or whatever
Right.
we come up with.
Right. So,
But, yeah, there has to be something, but that would make it easier too, because there's just so many centers in town instead of chasing all the individual businesses.
yeah, it
People
definitely
around.
has to be the property owner, not
Yeah.
the
Yes.
business owner.
But the language that's put forth here is very clear and very decisive. I think that's perfect.
So you could, if you want to, we can move ahead with this, with the addition to the zoning bylaw, and then let me figure out some enforcement options to escalate, rather than just continually going out there and telling people, take your sign down.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think it's a good idea to go ahead with this, and then if you can do some more research, we can figure out where we're gonna go from there to try to enforce this. So I'll entertain a motion to,
Make- Good.
I'll make a motion to forward this to the town warrant.
I'll second.
so you have a motion and a second, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous.
We have to hold public hearings on these, right?
You will have to hold public hearings on the zoning articles, yeah. So once you send them to the warrant, then we can advertise. Now, the last one is not a zoning article. So zoning articles take a 2/3 vote at town meeting. This one's not a zoning article, so it's just a majority vote. And it's back to the master plan. So the draft master plan is getting wrapped up. It's not entirely done. They still have to give us a couple of, the appendices, the executive summary, stuff like that. But the bulk of the guts of it are done. And the master plan committee is going to meet at least one more time to do a little bit more editing. And then when they are satisfied with it, they are going to send it to you. Now, the master plan has to be, for it to be valid, it has to be endorsed by the planning board. It has to be adopted by the planning board. You can stop there at the local approval process. I'd actually recommend that you don't, though. It's a much stronger policy document if you take it to town meeting and have it also be adopted by town meeting. So it's my recommendation to you that when you get it from the master plan committee, if you agree with the plan and if you're willing to adopt it, then you then take the extra step and take it to town meeting.
that's something we approve right now?
No, you don't, no,
We
you
wait
don't
till we
need,
get the-
yeah, yeah. So that's just kind of a heads up that it's underway, it's being wrapped up, and it will be coming. It's on the page really just just so I don't forget to make sure that
Is it
it
coming
gets to you.
It's coming.
soon? Coming soon.
Yeah, we're close.
Okay, other business, planning board member notes.
Only got a couple things, Mr. Chair. As we've discussed, and I just want to reemphasize, the urban renewal plan will be coming forward, I suspect to you, in a short amount of time. I believe that the RDA will be taking some type of action in the next meeting or so. Also, we had an excellent master plan committee meeting last night. It was very engaging. As Marlene had stated, we're very close on bringing that to this board. And it's a real good document. We've had excellent input. The committee's, in my opinion, is very engaged in it, and they've done a very good job. So it will be a nice document for the town. That's it.
All right, thank you. Anyone else?
I do not have anything at this time.
Well, since we're meeting December 27th, I'd like to wish everybody on the board a Merry Christmas and a Happy Hanukkah. Some members both. And I'd like to remember Chad and his family. I know Chad's not here and he's not feeling well. I just hope that they just wish them a Merry Christmas.
Send everybody Merry Christmas,
Same.
happy holidays.
Correspondence.
Nothing this time.
So the next meeting date will be December 27th.
Good minutes.
You have the minutes. for
Oh,
this,
I'm
Mr.
sorry, I
Chair.
passed those. Yeah, we have the minutes of November 29th.
I make a motion to approve as written.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the November 29th meeting minutes. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and second, those in favor?
Aye.
And good night, everyone.